Now we're going to take a look at brushes here in Adobe Photoshop. Brushes are a very helpful way to add to our designs, and they're going to work fairly similar to how they did in Illustrator, although there are some distinct differences. First off, I want you to know we've got our instructions layer and our background layer, and now we have this layer 1 here that is technically separate, and that's important because we're going to be painting on that layer. Okay. On this left-hand side, I have the finished, like what it should look like. So you're going to be doing that on the right-hand side. The first thing we'll talk about is how we get the color we want. So you don't need to match my colors. There is an eyedropper tool, so you can pull those out if you need to, and grab that exact color. But you don't have to. You can also just choose along the slider and change up some colors. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our paintbrush. And when we right click on the paintbrush, we're going to get some size options. They also show up here at the top. And we have the size and we have the hardness. So we want to have the hardness set at 100%. And then you're going to match what I have here. So 50, 120, and then 250. So we'll start off with 50 pixels. Just hit enter. And then all you're going to do is click, and it's going to actually make a stamp of that brush at that size. So we'll do that. We'll do 120, same thing. We'll just click, and I'll make a stamp. And then our last one is 250. And we click. And I say last one as in the last of these nice ones. So now I'm going to go back down to 120. But notice that my brush is really soft. I've actually bumped the hardness down to 0. And so what it basically does is it's going to paint that circle. The brush is set to be a circle to paint, but it's going to make it so that it has soft edges, and so that it can, be a smoother fade depending on what we're doing with it. Okay. Now we'll do 50 and we'll just click there and get that last one done. Okay. Now we'll just go back to like a 120 or something. So now I want to talk about just freehand painting. So again, you don't really have to change the color, but you're welcome to. And so basically what you're doing here is just freehand painting a line. So you can just try and match my line. It's not really a big deal whether you matched it or not. But then if we want to draw a straight line, you can see how with the brush it would be hard to just draw a straight line every time. But if I hold down the shift key and I paint, it's going to make it so that it only goes on that plane that I've painted. So if I hold down shift and I go up and down, it's only going to go up and down. It doesn't do diagonals with this. It's only going to do straight lines with that. Okay, so vertical or horizontal. If we want diagonals, you kind of saw what happened there with a couple of these. We'll just make our brush a little smaller now. If you click on a spot and then you hold down the shift key and you click on the next spot, it will connect those dots, so those points, and so you're able to make these pointed lines. Now this is not like the pen tool where you can click and drag and have those anchor points. Photoshop does have the pen tool if you needed to ever draw something with it, or make a selection even with the pen tool. But those are the basics of our using the paintbrush in Adobe Photoshop.